Now, how many of you are of the opinion that you can live any way you want to? You can be a Saturday night Satan and a Sunday saint. You can cheat. You can cheat people out of business. You can fight. You can cuss. You can carry on. You can raise hell. Look, I was so mean when I was a kid. If I'd have gone to hell, the devil had sent me out the back door, given me a match, and say, "You're too mean for mine. Go start your home." So I can talk like this because I understand where I'm coming from. I know what God did in my life. I know what he did for me. He changed me. My friends would come up to me in high school that after I'd graduated. They're famous men that became famous lawyers, men that became wealthy oil men, men that run banks in Arlington, Texas. They loan money to Jerry, there at the AT&T Stadium. So you need to have to understand, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not some fancy preacher that never tasted of this world. I know what it is to be delivered. I never got into drugs, thank God for that. The night that I got saved, I absolutely had a transformation because I ended up where I shouldn't be. I walked down a hallway, went into a bathroom, and I said, "God, if you'll get me out of here, I'll live for you." I paid an Indian named Benny Harjo because I was an iron worker. I gave him 50 cents to carry me to church. In 1961, I was making $1,000 a week. That's a lot of money in 1961. That's probably equal to about 7,000 now. It all changes, right? Everything's still the same. We still have bills to pay. But what happened was that God transformed my life. And my friends would come up to me because I was the life of the party. We had fun. We did crazy things. I mean, I've been in everything you can imagine. I've had friends that were playing with rifles, and one of them would shoot the other one and kill him accidentally because we were just stupid. We were full of the devil. How many of you were full of the devil before God saved you? And so I'm talking your language. And what happened in my life was I told God, if you would get me out of here, I'll live for you. Benny Harjo took me to church, and I gave my heart to Christ that night. And so it was in October of 1961 that I came to Christ. I'd always known I had a call to preach. I was sitting with my uncle, who was a preacher in a church he was visiting one Sunday morning. A message in tongues and interpretation came about being called of God. I hauled off. My uncle weighed 260 pounds, was 6'4", and he was all man. I hauled off and I hit him as hard as I could in the ribs. And I turned around out loud and I looked at him and I said, "That's for you, wasn't it? That was for you, wasn't it?" I didn't want to claim it. I didn't want to hear that. How many of you ever felt the conviction of God? You see these pews, my knuckles were white on the back of pews when I would squeeze them when people would give an invitation, because God was drawing me from the time I was 6 years old when he called me by name. And I ran from him until I was 19 years old. And I'm going to tell you right now, who would have thought that I would have had this kind of life? I think probably I want to embrace this, and I want to embrace this truth today as you daily face the onslaught of negativity in many forms that attempts to slay your faith. It's out to slay your faith, because if temptations can slay your faith, if negativity can slay your faith, you're an easy target. He who departs from evil, it says in Isaiah, makes himself a prey. Now, let me remind you of our God that has no limits.